My group of friends and I went to a local county haunted house attraction. It was by the edge of town. It opened every October of every year. It set right by the woods, appropriately, and had 3 attractions: the main haunted house, a corn maze, and a haunted trail through the woods. I guess I'll name my friends now: Rod, James, and Bud. That's not his real name, that's just his nickname. We started with the haunted house, which was decently high quality and had a few good scares, and we made our way to the corn maze. Started out kind of slow, just a lot of turns through the corn we'd have to make, but then the scary antics began. A guy dressed as a freaky scarecrow man emerged from the corn and screamed at us, causing us to scream as well. He started to chase after us and we ran. I was in the back, of course, and the scarecrow is right behind me. Even knowing it's just a paid actor, you had this innate fear of something chasing after you, where you just feel like you have to run away. Somehow, through the thrill of running away through the corn, I lost all of my friends. It seemed like all of us ran in different directions. I lost the scarecrow man, though, and got back to the trail between the crops. This is where the nightmare began. I called and yelled and screamed for my friends as I made wrong turn after wrong turn. They never called back. In fact, it seemed there were no other visitors in sight. I had to finish the maze by myself. What choice did I have? I walked and walked for what felt like 20 minutes, and I heard bustling in the corn in front of me. I slowed my pace and kind of tiptoed past the noise. But it was pointless. Something reached out from the corn and grabbed my wrist and squeezed it tight. I actually cried out in pain and yelled, "Stop, you're hurting me." I was actually in shock how hard this paid actor was squeezing my wrist. Then he tried pulling me into the crops. I didn't see who it was, I just saw his hand and arm covered by a black coat sleeve and black glove. I yanked myself out from the grip and backed away as the actor came out for the crops, into the path. He was wearing a heavy winter coat, black jeans, and a blank black face mask. I didn't know what the costume was supposed to be, but I literally yelled to go f*** yourself. You actually hurt me. He started running at me, and naturally I turned and ran as fast as I could through the corn to lose him. I yelled back, "I'm reporting you," and I quickly lost him after 5 minutes of running straight through the corn as opposed to following the maze of trails. I came to the edge of the maze and went to find an employee. I reported the actor to the employee, saying he used way too much force to the point that my wrists actually hurt. The employee said he wasn't sure who was wearing this specific attire I described, but that he'd look into it. I thanked him and then I looked at my phone. I had a missed call from James. I called him back to ask where the 3 of them were. He said they tried finding me, then they gave up and went to the haunted trail in the woods. I said I'd meet them and hung up. I walked over to the start of the trail, where they had the Halloween ambiance blasting through a bunch of speakers placed throughout. I stepped into the woods, feeling like I was the only one around besides my friends. I tried playing catch-up to my friends when I stopped in my tracks after spotting him again, blocking the path. It was the guy in the coat and black mask. He didn't even give me time to react or say something right away. He started legit charging full speed at me. I turned right and ran into the woods, expecting to lose him easier this time. I called back, "I'm calling the police." I wasn't actually, but I thought that might get this guy just to leave me alone. I ran deeper into the woods until I didn't hear him chasing me anymore. Then I sat down on the root of a tree to catch my breath. I had time to think, and one of my thoughts was, did that guy really follow me from the corn maze to here? Then I heard footsteps approaching. And of course, at that exact moment, my iPhone started ringing. I silenced my phone, but now the footsteps had stopped. I pushed myself up off the root quietly and leaned to the side to get a view past the tree. It looked clear. I started to run back towards the path of the attraction and immediately spotted him to my right. I said to myself, "F*** it." I stopped and told him I'm suing the place because of him, but he didn't stop running at me. He got to me and pushed me to the floor. I didn't expect it. I was once again in shock. I got back up as fast as I could before he could get on top of me and booked it. He chased me, but when I got back to the path towards the entrance of the attraction, he stopped and turned around. I went straight to the little front office shack and asked for a manager. Some older guy greeted me, and I told him about the guy who was chasing me and attacking me. The man said they didn't have any actors wearing that specific attire, so he called the police. And eventually I got my friends to meet me where I was. I stayed to describe the happening to the police when they showed up. I didn't have any marks to show them, but they still took a report, and the place was closed for the night. We all went home after that.
Last year, Halloween was on a Wednesday. Because of that, I was home alone. My dad works nights, my mom was staying with her sister because our parents weren't getting along at the time. My sister was away at college, so it was just me left to provide for the trick-or-treaters. My dad bought a couple bags of Kit Kats and told me he expected them empty by the end of the night. I don't know why, but my dad takes Halloween seriously. I didn't get home from classes until around 6, so it was already dark and the kids were out in droves. The second I dropped my bag on the couch, the bell rang, and that went on for some hours. I was getting homework done later on in the night when the trick-or-treaters had mostly gone home. Sometime past 9, though, I remember that much, and the doorbell rang once more. It was the first time in over half an hour. I went to open the door with a near-empty bowl of Kit Kats, expecting some kids, but instead, it was just this lone guy, maybe 35 years old. He waved at me with a neutral expression on his face and didn't open the storm door. I kind of just watched him, ready to shut the door on him. He stopped waving, then reached for the handle to the storm door and pulled it open. At that moment, I slammed the door shut in his face and locked it. I texted my family group chat that some old guy just tried opening the door. My dad joked that if he does it again, go outside and teach him a lesson. I decided that was it with opening the door for the night. I went back up to my room to finish my homework. Soon, I heard yelling coming from outside. I lost my patience and eventually got up to see what was going on. I slid open my window and looked out. There was that man again, down below, looking up at my window, shouting at me. He's mainly yelling that he needed help finding his son. I didn't believe him for a second. I texted my family again. My dad just said, "Ignore it, he will go away." I left my room and shut off the lights so that he'd go away. Then I went to the basement, which had no windows. I hung out down there to do my work, and all was quiet for a while. Then, flick. The power went out. My initial thought, that man outside tinkered with the electric box. I stayed in contact with my family the whole time. After a few minutes, I heard the floorboards creaking above my head. Someone, as if I couldn't guess who, was inside the house. My mom and dad and sister all texted me to call the cops. I stayed put in the basement, figuring that was the safest place at this point. The cops were en route. All I had to do was wait. The basement door then opened. He stepped down the stairs, only halfway though. Even without power, a little bit of light from the upstairs poured into the basement, enough for me to see his legs. He was standing on the middle step of the staircase, and I swear he just stood there for like 2 minutes. I heard him mumbling stuff. I won't even pretend I could understand any of it. After the longest, most painfully uncomfortable moment of my life, the man said into the basement, "I can see you the whole time." His legs were actually facing me. Was he actually looking at me that whole time? Still, I didn't move, nor did he. He continued to stand there until there was a bang at the front door, and he walked up the stairs, shut the door, and I heard creaking again above. I waited 20 seconds before running upstairs to the front door. By that time, it seemed the man had left my house because the cops couldn't find him, even with my help. Stupidly, I left the back door unlocked, so he simply let himself in. As for the power, he messed with the electric box outside as I predicted. I don't know if he did this on Halloween intentionally or if it was just a coincidence, but something was wrong with that man. He didn't belong out on the streets.
Halloween used to be one of my favorite holidays. Now I kind of just enjoy it when I have a decent party to go to. In 2018, when I was a senior in college, my friend Tracy's sorority was going to be throwing a big Halloween party at the sorority house. She said I could bring one friend since they didn't want too many outsiders at the party, so I invited my best friend Cody. We're very last-minute people when it comes to Halloween costumes. The party was that night, and we didn't have anything. Cody was working late, so he'd have to meet me right before the party, so he asked me to get a costume for him, and he'd just Venmo me the money. I ran to the nearby Spirit Halloween store that opened up like 5 minutes from my house. I was just shotgunning it. I picked a Where's Waldo costume for myself and a Superman costume for Cody, both two of the cheaper costumes they had. Everything was normal until I got to the cashier. I was on the phone with Cody, telling him about the costume I got him and giving him details about the party. I told him which sorority it was that Tracy got as the invite, gave him the address, and then he convinced me to pick him up instead of us just meeting, stuff like that. All this was said as the cashier was watching me. He was some guy who was decently older than me, but because of his receding hairline, I couldn't put a gauge on it as to whether he was in his 30s or low 40s. He wore glasses, though, and had a skinny-ish build and an awkward presence. As he rang up the two costumes, he had a comment, something along the lines of, "Sounds like you have a fun party tonight, huh?" I chuckled and said, "Yeah." Then he started asking more details, like if it's open invite, and had a comment about there being lots of girls. I said it's closed invite and that I barely got an invite. He said it's all good. Then he shook my hand and introduced himself as Mike. So I did the same and told him my name was Sean, and I left. It was weird. Fast forward to later that night, I picked up Cody and we arrived to the party around 10 p.m. It sounded loud inside, and there were multiple groups of people entering the house before us. At the door, a girl asked us who we knew there, and I told her Tracy. She let us in, and we were in this huge living room area, music blasting, all the lights dimmed low, Halloween decorations everywhere, and to top it off, people with red cups full of booze crowding the place. We saw Tracy and hung around her for a while. We played beer pong and other drinking games. It was a very legit party. But then at some point there was a commotion by the front door area. Cody, Tracy, and I and a few others walked over, and the girl at the door started calling out, "Where's Tracy?" She came forward and the girl asked, "Who is that Sean we invited?" I was confused and said, "Who?" She described some older-looking man in a cowboy costume with a fake mustache. He apparently inappropriately touched one of the girls trying to get her into a separate room, and she screamed for help. Then he took off with something in his pocket. None of the guys chased after him or anything. Immediately, I thought of the cashier from Spirit Halloween. I told him about it, and everyone got even more creeped out. The party went on, but they were a lot more cautious about who they were letting in. They even considered calling the cops for a second. That whole thing really killed my vibe, and we didn't stay much longer after that. In total, we were probably at the party for a couple hours at most. We left a little past midnight, I think. I didn't drink much. As I started my car, the car parked like 2 cars behind us also turned on, and as I drove in the direction of Cody's house, the car started to follow. Cody and I were sure it had to be him after it made 4 of the same turns, so I pulled to the side of the road, egging him on to pull over. But the car just stopped for a few seconds, then basically floored it past us. We didn't get a good look at who was inside, but I'm still positive it was him. After dropping off Cody down the block from his house, just being cautious, I was staying very aware of my surroundings, and because of that, I noticed a car in the near distance with its lights off, telling me it looked like the same car. I got to a main road, once again pulled over, and waited. The car once again waited, then a few seconds later turned on its lights and floored it in the far left lane, passing me. I was obviously shook and drove home as fast as I could. While I was sure I wasn't being followed, I called that Spirit Halloween location the next day and reported the cashier. They thanked me for the information, but I never went back there, so I wouldn't know if he was fired or anything. Looking back, I wonder if I could have and should have pressed charges. Regardless, I have no idea what he could have possibly wanted from me, but either way, I'm happy he didn't find out where I live.